Hey, yo. Friday morning, it's not raining. We're going to get on the field here in South Florida. Good to see y'all again, yins again. It's Joe Torre, your fearless leader, rocking his 2006 Black Sox shirt. Interesting stuff. I told you yesterday I had a feeling like something was going to go down. Got another announcement for a player signing. Got some awesome stuff in the transactions department. Got some scoreboard and standing stuff from some of these teams. Big night last night for a couple of our boys in the AA as Charlie eats his paws over there. Charlie says, "What's up?" A couple days away from the Bananas. We got a lot of games this weekend. Action down in South Florida. Playoffs all over the map. But I wanted to start out by saying I know my dudes, David Medney and some of my Vipers guys. That's the tournament I'll be coaching today. The Vipers run by Lou Siciliano, which have not had a kid play as a senior and not go to college in 10 years. I think they've gotten every senior into college over the last 10 years. So Lou Siciliano with the Vipers, check him out if you get a chance. We'll be trying to post some stuff from the Nationals Astros ballpark today and the Marlins Cardinals ballpark tomorrow, where those kids will be playing their tournaments. Big shout out to those guys. We've been doing some more progression workouts, like more developmental, and talking to these guys about more mindset as they get from 13, 14, 15 into high school. I know a lot of my pro guys could help those guys out, so when you guys get an opportunity, you're down here in South Florida, as the Instagram goes crazy in the back, that's a good account to follow, my boy from New Jersey. But you guys, my pro guys, get an opportunity to be around these kids, do it, because it's unlimited really what we could do with them training-wise and coaching-wise, and they need to be around you as much as possible, and you guys need to be on the field as much time as possible. So kind of goes hand in hand. So I've got a couple Vipers games today, a couple Vipers games tomorrow, hopefully playoffs into Monday. It'll be pretty cool. We've been working with our guys and really teaching these young guys more a progression type of strategy to work out. So we go to practice yesterday. You know, everybody's in full uniform all the time with these young kids, and it's 95 degrees out there. And, you know, 2 kids are there early, and I take them and straight up backhand day. You know, the first one you're picking off the ground, the next one's a little harder, you sit behind it, and then the third one I just whack it, whatever happens, make a play, you know? Because they don't have enough of that, like, wow, I'm going to dive, like, the third play of the day here. Like, I mean, if you're in full uniform, be ready to rock, right? So it's like teaching them that progression, and then we took it into our IO and went all backhands and getting around the ball type plays, and plays where we could really attack the ball in front like this and go make some backhand plays that kids might normally make forehand plays or one-hand plays. So just stuff like that, making it a progression for the boys. So I'll let you know how that goes as we play. But let's get into this. As Aaron Burr would say, let's get into it, man. The Baseball Brilliance podcast kind of making a comeback here when I get with Bombalis here in the near future. Unless I don't, because something might come up for Bombalis. I feel like he might not be around. I feel like I'm going to be doing this one alone for a little bit. But as you cover the 4 leagues, you know, well, first, I told you about the transactions. Matt Reitz, baby. Guy starts every 5 days for a different Atlantic League team. It's amazing. Reitz is going to go spot start for the Spire City Ghost Hounds, they're called, or whatever it is. On Saturday, he's on his way right now to Lancaster, which is funny because it's the team that he just pitched for, Sueños, baby, just pitched for Lancaster against Southern Maryland, got his first pro win, first pro ejection. We talked about it yesterday. Well, that dude is going to be starting against Lancaster tomorrow, so we'll be sure to watch that one. It'll be Reitz's 3rd spot start in the Atlantic League in the last 15 or 20 days. He's basically started every 5 days in the Atlantic League for 3 different clubs, trying to get him to latch on with somebody here, maybe in the Frontier League, or to finish the season with whoever, because he definitely deserves it. He's been pitching his ass off. I think he's given up like 2 runs as the last 11 innings, something like that, 5 punch-outs, couple walks, done pretty well. So he'll get that start Saturday against Ross Peoples, and Ross Peoples will get another opportunity to look at a guy that just pitched for him. So I like it because it's kind of a tryout of all sorts. So good for Reitz getting another job in the Atlantic League, and we'll post that one. We also have Jordan Sickett joining the Empire State Grays today in Missouri. He flew in. He's joining the Grays. He'll play against Gateway tonight, or be on the roster to play against Gateway tonight. Sickett will be on the same team as a guy named Zach Whalen, who we had play in the 2021 Yinzer, and I also coached him in the 2022 New Jersey Jackals. Whalen was an all-star this year, and Sickett could definitely learn a lot from Whalen. Come here, buddy. Shaking it out? Come here. they could learn a lot from each other. Sickett definitely looking to learn. He's a sponge, so Waylon, if you could take care of my boy while he's over there, we'd appreciate it. Sickett's got his knowledge from catching in Quebec earlier this Frontier League season, so that's where he's kind of got some of his young rookie experience. But to team up with Mark Mason and Jalen Smith, who he played with earlier. Actually, I don't know if he played too much with Jalen. I know it was a little bit on the tour, if that, but same organization. Jalen was in the Yinzer while Sickett was in Quebec, and now they'll get together and play against Gateway tonight. And then you also have Jonathan Pepe Soto driving to New Jersey to meet the Schaumburg Boomers. He'll be in the same dugout as guys like Chase Dawson and also the pitcher we posted, Christian Scott, on the Instagram yesterday that Cam Hatch was talking about. But I have a good relationship with Jamie Bennett from the Boomers. Again, Soto filling in that few-week period where their catcher's down with an injury. Hopefully he sticks for the season. But he'll be going to New Jersey, actually, to play against and be in the same lineup as the team that signed him for his previous 8 at-bats in the Frontier League, where he went 2 for 8 with the New Jersey Jackals on a trip to Canada that I sent him about a month ago after being released from Gateway. So Soto's story, man, first, hit a 3-run homer against York in the Atlantic League spring training games and be pretty much my number 1 or 2 catcher along the way. Ends up going to the Frontier League draft. We drive there together to the Frontier League draft. He leaves his fishing shit at my mom's house and golf clubs and all sorts of stuff because there was no room for humans. There was only stuff in the car. I couldn't believe it. So we clear that car out. We drive Soto's car to Missouri. He signs with Gateway at the draft like we knew he was gonna. He hangs around through spring training, gets clipped. I don't know if it was during the season or he started the season, gets clipped, goes back, ends up getting called again to go to Gateway, also to New Jersey to go over the border for what we knew was going to be a 3-game series where he did his job. Now again, just like Sickett and Reitz, it'll be another showcase for Soto against the New Jersey Jackals. Gateway's a first-place team. Jackals are a first-place team. And Schaumburg looking to be a first-place team. So you never know what's going to happen there with the way it's going to play out. There he is, Pepe himself. So those are our transactions, and unfortunately, Max Tannenbaum released after the early game yesterday in Spire City. Reitz is not taking his spot. Tannenbaum wasn't a starter. Tannenbaum's a guy that made like 50 appearances in the Atlantic League last year. We're going to work on getting him the next spot once he gets himself to where he wants to be on the mound. That's what we do. We communicate with our guys, and that makes now 4 sidearm relievers available, with Reith getting released the other day, Armsworthy in Canada, and Coleman Goodman Jr. up in the Northeast. Righty sidearm guys, obviously not including everyone. Scoreboard-wise, those are our transactions. Scoreboard-wise, man, you got the Frontier League kicking off tonight. We mentioned a couple teams and series earlier, but you've got Schaumburg at New Jersey, like I mentioned. I think a big playoff-type implication matchup, even though Evansville and Tri-City, I know it's still early, but I feel like starting off the second half, those two teams against each other, Andy McCauley against Pete Incaviglia and the squad over there, John Meade and the boys. I think that's going to be, you could definitely tell you that Evansville, Tri-City, Schaumburg, New Jersey, Quebec, maybe New York will be in it at the end, for sure. They're going to be in it at the end of the Frontier League run. You got Washington at Florence. I would say that's a big series for those guys, too, because somebody's got to pass somebody. Quebec and New York, you've got both trying to make their way up. I think the Boulders are in second place right now. We're going to that workout over the weekend with Bombalis. He's going to represent a few of our best guys, Roberto McCurdy, a few Nico Tony, guys that are going over there that really deserve and could play in the Frontier League right now. So if you're a player going over to those Boulders workouts, there's got to be a reason to be going. Andres Rios, the guy that just commented, he could go. Ryan Rowell, he could go. 4 Grand Slams in a week and signed with a Frontier League team. Otherwise, if you don't have those resumes, it's Carson McCurdy, half a year in the Frontier League with Sussex. If you don't have the resume of Roberto, what I could say about Roberto, if you don't have Nico Tony's resume since 2018, what are you going to waste your time for? There's got to be a reason to do what you're doing. If you got time and money, spend it, baby. Windy City is at Sussex on Herbie's birthday. That's going to be a big series. See if Windy City can get out of the basement, and Sussex struggling after being in the first half, being in first place the majority of the first half. You got Ottawa and Lake Erie going at it in Lake Erie. Joliet is in Canada, so big series for Lake Erie, Joliet, TR, all those teams that are kind of feasting there in the middle bottom, because you can either break away. You know how your second half is going to go probably by these first couple of series. And then, like I said, you got Empire State over at Gateway. quick look at the Pioneer League yesterday. Some interesting stuff. Ogden in another close game, a 3-2 game. They beat Rocky Mountain, where Brandon Crosby is, and one way to beat Rocky Mountain is keep him to 0 for 4, which they did. Keep Crosby to 0 for 4. If he gets a couple of hits, that's probably a different game. Feltz went 1 for 4 with a run. That's our guy Cameron, switch hitting fast, afro rocking, but not anymore. Feltz. Also, Dave Martinez over in Rocky Mountain had 2 knocks yesterday. He went 2 for 4, and it's good to see Barfield coming off the bench. I don't know if he came off the bench as a defensive replacement or pinch hitter or whatever, but he got a knock. He was 1 for 1. Norco beat Grand Junction 10-7. Great Falls actually beat Missoula 8-7 in a little upset. Boise scored 10 runs and beat Billings 10-6. And then Grand Rapids beat Idaho Falls 8-6. Zach May, a guy that we had at Scout Day, has 8 home runs over there for Grand. Is it Grand Rapids? Who knows? Everybody's got some sort of falls. Grand Falls. But he's got 8 bombs over there. He had a knock yesterday. Tells you how much we lock into the Pioneer League because of kind of how it is. Slide it over to the Atlantic so I can go get to the fun stuff in the American. But in the Atlantic League, not sure if you were following those. I mentioned Tannenbaum clipped after that first game with Spire City. Medoro came in again yesterday after struggling the day before. They actually threw him back-to-back days, and he did okay yesterday. Peden, 1.2 innings Peden comes in and gets 5 outs, gives up no runs after he got touched a little bit yesterday. Both Peden and Medoro floating around 9. They really need to start putting up some zeros to get it down. But it's not just Medoro, it's not just Peden, it's not just our guys getting banged up a little bit. You got Victor Capellain. I mentioned he blew the save the other day and had a 10. Well, 2/3 of an inning, he gives up another 2 runs and has a 9. So, I mean, it's not just a certain level of guy with the ERA or whatever that is. It's not just the Pioneer League. It's not just the Atlantic League, certain guys. It's everybody is kind of, unless you're Jameson McGrain in the American Association, who we'll get to in a second. He punched out the side last night, and he's got like a 1.8. Unless you're that guy, everybody else seems to be giving up their runs early and then slowly pitching their numbers down, which if people follow along for the season, well, then you know what's going on. If you only glance at the end of the season and you don't look at the game-by-game log, well then, numbers can fool you. But, Capellain's going to be in it at the end, competing with that team over there in Southern Maryland. But definitely an 11-7 loss to York is the game that I talked about that Peden and Medoro were in. Lancaster beats Long Island 15-9 in a game where I saw Chris Tessitore got an inning. So good to see Tessitore, who I had last year at the New Jersey Jackals. Chris Tessitore threw at our Scout Day this year in Connecticut. He's definitely got some moving parts and some things going on that he could help a club. So he's over there in Long Island. They lost by 6. He put up a scoreless frame. Then there was Staten Island beating High Point 9-3 in a game where Staten Island, actually I think they got beat 9-3, but Pugh had 2 hits, was 2 for 5. Yeah, and in that game, it was High Point winning by 6. And Jameson McGrain comes in and strikes out the side, man. That dude is just tearing it up in the Atlantic League now. McGrain was a guy that we had a while back before he signed with the Marlins, sent him to the Florence Yalls, signed with the Marlins, spent some time in the American Association after. He's done extremely well, and really hope that JMO gets another opportunity somewhere in the league. Southern Maryland, pretty much, I think they lost to Lexington, 10-8? Good look for Doherty, though. Doherty gets his 2nd win in the Atlantic League, throws a scoreless frame. He's 2-0. And then the Charleston Dirty Birds game, who we're going to meet up with to play the Bananas on Monday, they were delayed, rained out. I guess Gastonia and the Dirty Birds will make that one up. But to the fun stuff, man. The American Association, awesome watching the scoreboard and what was going on last night with my boy Jarrell McDade and Keyshawn Lynch in an 11-10 extra inning. Winnipeg win. Cleburne loses, but Lynch went 1 for 5 with 2 runs. McDade went 2 for 4 with a homer, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. The homer video's been getting passed around. McDade and Lynch really getting hot as they started getting through this series in the American Association. It's supposed to be a 3-game trip, 4-game trip to go to Winnipeg, and it's turned into they signed him before the Sioux City series to get some more at-bats, fill a spot. Maybe they had some injuries or whatever, but really awesome stuff to see those guys exploding. So now it looks pretty respectable at the end where you got McDade, 7 games, hitting .286, 6 for 21 with 5 runs, a double, a homer, 3 ribs, a walk, 2 hit by pitches. He's been getting on base, and he's only punched out 3 times. He only has 1 bag. Lynch hitting .207 in 9 games, 6 for 29, 6 runs in 9 games with a double, 2 RBIs. Impressive about Lynch, 7 walks, 7 strikeouts. He's seen a lot of pitches, and he's getting on base. He also has a bag. The thing about Lynch and McDade's performance here in Cleburne is that you go watch the travel team that the Pecos League used to have, right? You go watch the Empire State Grays. You go watch any team really low-level rookie Frontier League, Pioneer League games. Watch these games. 10, 12 strikeouts a game, and nobody walks. Let's look at the leaders in walks for Cleburne. DeShields in 141 at-bats has 21. The guy with the most in 219 has 33 walks, 219 plate appearances. Lynch has 30 plate appearances and has 7. 40 plate appearances and has 7. So you see how some guys could go into these situations and just 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 4. And that's what I talked to my guy, Jalen Smith, a little bit about over on the Empire team when I talked to Sickett about in playing these games with these teams is, you could have 20 walks and 80 strikeouts at the end of it and it not be what you want it to be. But if you know how to have at-bats and have professional at-bats and play the game to win especially, you could get some of the results that you want here, which look like these guys, they're not just swinging to not strike out. McDade has 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and 28 plate appearances, 25 plate appearances, and he's hitting .286, and Lynch is hitting .200. It's a short period of time, but it's a respectable level of work and workload that they're performing. I think it's actually pretty incredible to look at a team like Cleburne who swings all that much. I mean, Hernandez in the fewest amount of at-bats and most walks closest is Kerpa in 30 games, 29 games, had 86 at-bats, 18 for 85 actually, with 16 walks. Took 85 plate appearances. And another 40 plate appearances, Lynch could very easily have those 16 walks. So even though he hits 200, he gets on base 40% of the time. So great opportunity for those guys to go over the border and prove, like I said, also to play against Greg Taggart, my manager with the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, gets to get an opportunity to look at a couple guys that he wouldn't usually get to see, so that's awesome. On the other side of the board, though, you got Jacob Bockley getting another hit in that win. Jacob Bockley, I don't know if you guys know, has a 9-game hitting streak where he has 13 hits in that 9 games. Bockley coming off the DL a little while ago and coming on strong here. He's going to have a hot second half, especially if they got to keep pitching to him. So Bockley, definitely getting going there. Good to see McDade. Good to see Lynch get going. Also, I know we mentioned Barfield before. Barfield's a guy that played back in 2009 in the Pacific Association. Actually, at 2019, 18, I think maybe even a year before. He's been around for a while. Sonoma Stompers guy, good player, been in a few leagues. I think he's hitting like 360 with 9 homers and like 45 RBIs in 35 games. So Barfield, like, doing the damage he's got to do in Rocky Mountain, like Crosby is, to hopefully get somewhere else and get to the next thing. Hope you guys enjoyed that Joe and Padilla 425-foot homer that we posted yesterday. We might also have another guy going to the draft league here in the next day or two. I'll let you know about that. What else is going on? Team X playoffs, baby. That's this weekend. That's going to be awesome. I think they got the better seed, so they'll play later in the afternoon, which is good. So a couple of our guys can go get the workout in with the Boulders and then get over there at night and play their playoff game. And I sent them a text specifically how to deal with it, how to treat their bodies, how to treat the workout with Rockland, how to save energy for the game and just treat it for what it is, and also managing things like the weather. I like to think for the boys a little bit and give you as much advice and forewarning as I can for everything. Kenosha Kings got some games coming up. I know a lot of guys are planning on heading up there to finish the season, trying to get a bunch of arms there so we could play as much as possible over there. Play out until I think August 20th and maybe later. Down here in South Florida, we got a couple games for the boys on Sunday morning. We're going to play Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. We're going to get these guys 8-10 at-bats if we can. Some of these guys, we've got some guys playing out in Tampa and the Kissimmee and Orlando area, which is good. So if you're looking to join us and you're looking to, be part of what this is, especially for my younger guys that might still be watching or that were on here earlier, and really for all the guys, the number one thing is how to take care of yourself in a 100-game season. And that's the number one thing that I think guys are missing on, is the doctors, the training, the specific stuff that we do. It's not just 100 games because you played 100 shitty games in 3 months. I mean, I'm talking about if that's easy for you, let's play 150, let's play 200 games, let's be on the field 300 days a year and see if our body can withstand the workload that we continue to build up, so that when it is time to go on the tour, and you're driving 800 miles or 600 miles or even 300 miles or 100 miles to play the next game, you have all your juice and you know how to respond to that. You know how to take care of yourself. I talked to a kid yesterday that missed the draft. I guess he didn't get picked up in the draft. And, if somebody calls me about him, I've got some people called me about the kid. But if a manager calls me and they say, well, what's he like after a 25-hour bus ride? I don't know. What's he like after he strikes out 3 times against the best pitching he's ever seen in his life? I don't know. What's he like, when he plays out of position and hasn't played in 6 days and has to come off the bench? I don't know. These are things to think about, as you guys want to get signed, and the environment that we want to put players in to succeed. And that's why we have guys down here in South Florida. And South Florida is such a good animal, a good goal to tackle, because it's easy because it's set up, but still you got to figure it out and do it and execute it. And I know Owen Reith up in Kenosha, our manager for the Kenosha Kings, who recently was released in the Atlantic League, is talking about, I want to get guys down to South Florida in September. Let's get this thing going early. Let's get these dudes more ready. Let's get more dudes. Let's find more arms. And to end, speaking of the arms, it is really crazy how many guys I've come across in the last week or two, and it's really making me not want to waste the time to do it anymore. I said this in the Yinzer to our guys, but this generation, and this is not just from me, this is from 40, 50-year MLB people that have been in the MLB, played, coached in the minors, been to Mexico, indie ball, everywhere. And a lot of these guys are the generations are so different that it's hard to help this generation. It really is hard to talk to you, help you. We're telling you what to do and you're not listening. So it's this generation makes guys quit what they're doing. They do. They make people change what they're doing. And that's why that they're all about these pitching programs and all this bullshit online stuff, because they got you. They definitely got you. They got you guys because they know that you don't want to do the other stuff that really needs to be done. So it's been really hard to talk to players lately, embarrassingly hard, to where I'm telling a guy exactly what to do. He's leaving a league to come to us. I work for Winnipeg. I work for teams. I'm signing 80 guys on the year. It's easy. You just got to be 88, 90 and be able to fill it up for 5 innings, and I got to see it a couple times, and I can get you a spot start or whatever. And dude's nah, I'd rather spend $350 on a tryout. Nah, I'd rather go to Driveline and train. Nah, I'd rather stay in the Pecos League or whatever. And it's fellas, you've made this impossible. You really made it impossible. The training thing is non-competitive. It's just non-competitive. It's not going to get you that much stronger. Everybody wants to go add a couple of miles an hour, in a month or 2 or 3. I can go through and give you 10 examples of guys I talked to at the end of the, I'm getting a message to go to the Viper, so I'm going to split. But I guess they need me a little early, hopefully. But if I went through, and we're going to do it, let's go through 10, 12 guys that I told exactly what to do and what their 10 ERA is now, without the innings, with the training, with the time off, with their own rehab program, whatever it is. Everybody's failing their own way. No one's really succeeding their own way. I see it so few of the time, such a low percentage of the time that guys actually succeed their way. It's not my way either, though. It's just a way, and multiple ways that we know to get this done. And you can either buy into it, and it doesn't have to be just my thing or just that thing or this, but you guys have really got to open up and make yourselves available to what could actually happen. Because in doing this training live at bats shit, I went to this Vipers live at bats thing the other day, and it was cool to do. The guys are on the field 3 to 5 o'clock, and a ton of at bats, ton of pitches, ton of reps, but there's not much competing going on. It's just reps. And losing that competitive edge in this generation is the reason that these D2, D3, lower level guys are not getting drafted. We can get into a whole draft talk and all that. But if you know the level's down, if you know competition is down, if you know nobody's going to really go at it, why would you sign those kids? You wouldn't. You know what I mean? Even, I remember in the preseason I had, and we'll end on this, I had the Atlantic League hit me up about, hey man, we might not have a Frederick team. The president called me like, you might be the extra team. And I was like, cool. And he's like, you really think your Black Sox guys can do it? And I said, what? And he's like, yeah, you don't think like after 80 games or 50 games or 20 games, your Black Sox guys wouldn't be just getting waxed every night? And I said to the president of the Frontier League, what makes you think I would sign Black Sox guys to my travel team? And he's like, oh. I was like, you'd be paying the bill, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, so why would I sign my players? I would sign the best players I could find, because when I need a player, I'm going to have to go to the Black Sox guys. So why do you think managers sign released affiliated guys? Because they're battle tested. Why do you think people sign high-level D1 and whatever it is guys? Because they've been through the meetings and they've been held accountable and they've had high standards, held against them and for their team and everything. And so, like, that's really what it comes down to. So guys have to understand that, like, the number one thing that these managers, bro, they were born in 1950, 60, and 70, bro. These managers were not born in 1984 like I was, unless it's PJ Phillips and a few guys. There's a very small group of guys that are at a young age right now. Jared Lemieux and Matty Rush and some of these guys. Scalabrini's kind of young. TJ Stanton's young. The Frontier League's a young league. Go to the Pioneer League, man. Go to the American Association. See who's working there. I met Joe Calfapietra like 20 years ago. I met, and you don't know these names because you're not well versed. The same kid that I talked to yesterday about the draft and everything, not well versed. Doesn't know who works for who and what's what, and where to get connections and how to get connected and who to talk to and where. And it's because really probably they've been playing and not absorbing anything from the outside, because the way that this thing is now, it's just set up for you, set up for you, set up for you. And, unfortunately, that's got to go. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little FYPP. We're going to do a little revamp of how this thing is. And we're going to have to break it down like we used to, and word for word, step by step, control what guys are doing, because that's the way. Well, it is our job, lady, as someone says, well, that's your job. Right, it is our job, but this group has made it impossible. They've made it impossible to do our job. Like, I haven't even done my job for a guy that's outside of my program in so long. I only focus on my guys. I only answer the phone for my guys. I only respond to my guys. There's guys probably been hitting me up for 6 months. I don't give a shit. You've wasted so much time before. What makes me think you're going to listen now? You want to get guys that call you, hey, I get it, I'm in, let's go. I shouldn't have to convince anybody of anything. And that's the problem. This whole generation, a bird flies by and they're like, oh, yeah, drive line, I'll go there. A bird flies by, they're like, oh yeah, I'll finish the season over here. I'm not going to go where this dude is. I'm going to go, oh yeah, well, that looked good. And then I thought I should, and you think too much and you don't know anything. You don't know anything, so, why are you thinking for yourself? You thinking for yourself got yourself in this situation in the first place, All right, on that note, we got to split. I got to get to the field with these Vipers boys. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Watch the Frontier League. Second half action, kickoff today. Watch some of our guys. We'll see reitz spots start tomorrow. That'll be awesome. Maybe we'll have the game on live as we go, but got to schedule some of these kids games, I guess, in this tournament. We'll see how it goes. If you're in the South Florida area, you want to get in front of me, I have some games and some workouts to see players here the next week before I go to Kenosha. Cole Bombalis will be in the Kenosha area. Owen Reith is in the Kenosha, Wisconsin, Chicago area. We got guys in the Northeast for the next couple days. Take advantage, fellas. The more you sit on it, the less is going to happen for you. I can promise that.